According to New York Police Department stats, crime in the city's subway system is up 41% from last year, a huge jump. In addition, there have been 9 homicides in the subways this year compared to 3 in pre-pandemic 2019. Even a pair of incidents over the weekend have struck fear in most of the hardened New Yorkers. On Friday, an unidentified suspect without being provoked charged at a 32-year-old man and shoved him off the platform and onto the tracks. The man was hurt but not hit by a train. Another attack subway station Sunday when a 62-year-old man was punched in the head. The blow forced the male victim off the platform and onto the tracks, suffering minor injuries. To discuss the situation on the subways, we welcome Guardian Angels founder and former Republican candidate for mayor of New York, Curtis Sliwa, and Doris Schultz, the first female captain of the Metro North Police. Thank you both for being here. Appreciate your time. Mayor Adams is a former NYPD captain seen as friendly to law enforcement. Has that shaped his approach to the crime problem? And is it working or is it not? Curtis, let's start with you.
No. His nickname is the Swagger Man, and he has no plan, never did. And so what has happened is you have emotionally disturbed persons who are roaming in the subways, living in the subways, and they become a menace to themselves and everybody else. And then you have gangs now who are coming onto the train system knowing that there are no consequences for their actions, even though they're on video, even though they have facial recognition technology that they can use to track down these individuals. They're coming in with impunity. And also, they have free access into the system. There's nobody stopping fare invaders. So if you don't control entry into the system, you lose control of the system. And that's evident in the statistics and the fact that women, mostly women, are not taking the subways. They are the majority of the workers. Without them, the restaurants, the nightlife, the bars cannot survive, and it's been an economic drain on the city. One reason, not COVID any longer, the fear and the reality of crime in the streets and in the subways.
And Dorothy, listen, as a former New Yorker for 10 years, I've been on all those trains more times than I can remember at all hours of the day and night. And I know full well that subway crime, always a hot issue in New York. But like your 401k, it goes up and down. There are good years and bad years for one reason or another. Is there anything different this time around that feels more dangerous or that it's a longer term issue than when this very same matter has been in the news in the past?
I would say the number one reason.
No, Dorothy, go ahead. Dorothy, I'm going to let Dorothy jump in here real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think the change in the mental health situation is making a very big difference. And I have to agree with Curtis here, if I may call him that. I met him, I don't want to say how long ago when he was in Grand Central Terminal. But the mental health issue, you can't really predict what these people are going to do. We saw that piece of video. Someone just took off against a perfect stranger. The other thing I do agree is that the fare evasion is a big issue. If you do not control who's coming into the system. Now, it's true, a lot of the mentally challenged people are living in the system, so fare evasion wouldn't really affect them. But you need to have some sort of sense that people are in charge. It goes back to, the old broken windows policing. People feel that no one is in charge in the subways right now, even with the increase in police. And I think that too many press conferences are not helping the situation because it sends off a sense that there's panic and that even those who are supposed to be in control aren't. So maybe fewer press conferences and more action would be a big part of the solution.
Well, speaking of action, listen, there are plans to increase police presence on the subways, which is always the response when crime goes up. But this is my point. If it's a mental health issue, then what is the city doing on the mental health front? And even if they had 100,000 cops down there, crazy is going to do what crazy is going to do at the end of the day. You're never going to have enough police to man a city of 9 million people in an underground subway system of hundreds and hundreds of miles. Can't be done. So what is the practical answer now that is different from other things we've tried before, with the understanding that broken windows what was and still is a controversial approach for other reasons we don't have time to get into today. But Curtis, back over to you. Mental health and the practicality of policing a city and a system this big.
The previous mayor, Bill de Blasio, created a program called Thrive. Over 5 years, they spent $1.5 billion. And the specificity of the program was to help people with mental health problems. I saw no results from any of that expenditure of money. And then remember, when the lockdown and the pandemic came about in March of 2020, we released a lot of mental health care patients into the streets because we needed the beds. I understand that. We needed the beds. The hospital systems were overloaded. But we never went back and brought the clients back in for the services they needed. So, for example, these men and women who were roaming about, they had no idea where to go to continue their medication, to continue therapy. They needed in-house help, and they're not getting it, and nobody has gone out to retrieve them and help them. In fact, at the state level, we have a state race now for the governorship. When Andrew Cuomo came into office, we had 30,000 beds put aside for mental health care patients. By the time he left, we only had 3,000 beds. That's a difference of 27,000 beds that could have been used to help these people who are in desperate need. And there has been no intervention whatsoever at either the state or the city level. And you also have a mayor who has at one point said it is a perception of fear, and then all of a sudden he has a crime crisis seminar that's followed by flooding the system with police, and everybody understands it's going to be for 2 weeks to try to help Kathy Hochul get elected governor of the state of New York, because we know it's not going to continue after November 8th, election day.
And let me jump in, Curtis. One, to make sure your window's locked for that cat behind you jumps out. Dorothy, let me give you the last word here in terms of manpower and the cops here. Practically, what can be done? It's a massive system, and you can't stop everything. There are not enough cops in the world to really do it. So again, practically, what's an impactful answer here or remedy?
Well, these short-term solutions and that overtime is unsustainable. You're not going to have cops working that kind of overtime for a long period of time. Maybe a couple of weeks past the election, but maybe till the end of the year. But that's not sustainable. And a big part of the subway is the fear itself. People are staying away, and subways are one of those areas that are made safer by more legitimate riders. And you look at that piece of tape. The platform is empty. Before COVID, would you have seen anything like that? That platform would have been filled with people. And so you have the odds have changed. There are too many troubled people and not enough legitimate riders. And that's a vicious cycle. And I think certainly the mental health is a major issue, but I think that's also now that a lot of the mentally challenged also are drug addicted. So the violence is totally unpredictable. And I think that's a very, very big part of the fear. And again, there's a whole literature about women and fear in public places and the subway and vulnerability. And all of those things are kicking in at exactly the wrong time for New York City, when recovery is really slowed by people not wanting to come back to work at all, and certainly not wanting to come back if they have to use public transportation. And these kind of panic responses are unfortunately not going to be the answer.
Well, listen, we all know New York can't function without that subway system. It is the literal lifeline of the city. Number two, of course, we're getting closer to holidays when a lot of tourists come to town and rely on the subway the same way that that locals do. It's a frightening problem. Thank you both, Curtis and Dorothy. Really appreciate your time and your insight. Please come back. Appreciate you. Have a good day.
Thank you.